Get ready to embrace debate. First Take starts now.
Good morning, everyone. We're at the MGM Grand Pool Complex. First Take in Las Vegas for the big fight. The memory. Some are calling it the greatest sporting event. And because it is the greatest sporting event, that's why we are here with a wonderful crowd. Thank you for joining us at home as well. We want to say thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you guys. We really appreciate it. It means a lot. It's early, so we know it. Thank you so much. I want to introduce my partners in crime. Skip Bayless to my left.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh. And Stephen A. Smith to my right. You don't want them to say, you don't want them to chant for Stephen A? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Carrie champion.
Yes, I want you to answer a question. It says you're undefeated. Is this true?
This is true. And also, besides being undefeated, now I'm way beyond 47-0. I'm like 1,047-0. I thanks to our new today's ring announcer that we had, Ray Flores, I have a new nickname. I don't know if you caught that. I am now the Hammer.
Oh, okay.
And the Hammer is about to pound on his favorite nail over here, Stephen A. Smith. Yeah.
Do you have any idea how corny the Hammer sounds?
You know, I'm trying to get under your skin the way Freddie Roach and Manny Pacquiao are trying to get under Floyd's skin.
Allow me to express how impossible that is. There's nothing to be fazed about.
All right,
whatsoever.
well, coming up on the show today, ladies and gentlemen, Roy Jones Jr. will be here. He will talk to us about the also, ESPN boxing writer Dan Rafael will join the desk. It's good to have Dan Rafael here. Yes, but let's get to the fight, shall we? Manny's camp, as just mentioned, has been extremely talkative. And yesterday on Stephen A. Smith's radio show, Freddie Roach, the trainer, made the following bet. Let's listen.
I'm picking your guy to lose by TKO in the 11th round.
My best friend bet me Tom Ford shoes.
Tom Ford.
Shoes.
You done. Yeah, we're betting Tom Ford shoes. That's it. You know what? I don't bet, but I am taking Freddie Roach up on that bet. Tom Ford shoes. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Tom Ford shoes. One of us is gonna buy one of. I can't believe you said this stuff. A knockout for Floyd Mayweather in the 9th round.
Yes.
Oh, I'm taking that. I don't bet on the air, but I'm taking it from Freddie Roach.
All right, Tom Ford shoes, 9th round. We'll get to that in just a moment. Earlier in the day, Freddie Roach also said the following to USA Today Sports. He said he wasn't really for sure, in fact, that Floyd would show up for the fight. If Mayweather shows up, I'm still worried about that. I won't believe it until I see him in front of us in the ring, suggesting that he may find a reason to back out of the fight on Saturday, Stephen A. Smith. So let's go over the following bet. Freddie Roach said to you he predicts there will be a knockout. Manny Pacquiao knocking out Floyd Mayweather in the 9th round. And if it doesn't happen, something about Tom Ford shoes. They're pretty expensive.
First of all, Freddie Roach is so disrespectful.
Is he now?
He's so disrespectful. Listen. I did not ask this man to come on my radio show. I did not think he would. They came over to me and said he wants to come on. He comes on the radio show yesterday. I certainly didn't bring up a bet. He sat up there and said, I'll bet. He said, Manny is going to knock Floyd Mayweather out in the 9th round. He said, and I bet you heard him say, bring up the Tom Ford shoes. Now, for those of you who are not aware of Tom Ford shoes, allow me to educate you. The blazers are a minimum of 3 Gs. The shoes are over a G. Some of them are over 2 Gs. The shoes are not cheap. They're relatively expensive shoes. They are fly. No doubt about that. I was shocked because, forgive me for saying this, because Freddie Roach is a fabulous trainer. He's a Hall of Famer. He's the best of the modern day era. We understand that. But being a trainer is one thing. He will never, ever be applauded for his wardrobe. So the fact that he came up with the Tom Ford shoes just threw me for a loop. It shocked me. But obviously he wants to upgrade in that department, and I applaud him for that. But to use this as a maneuver in order to pull that off, I find it very, very shocking. And as the fight draws near, Skip Bayless, I've taken on a different mentality when it comes to your whole Pacquiao camp. You're going to call it my Mayweather camp. Your Pacquiao camp with Freddie Roach, with Manny Pacquiao. The level of disrespect that these two have engaged in, and more so Freddie Roach than Manny Pacquiao, as Dan Rafael will explain to us when he later comes on the show, because he's just an extraordinary boxing guy. The reality is that Pacquiao's camp is coming across to me as a little bit desperate now. As I watch this whole week unfold, with Freddie Roach going out of his way, it just seems to me that they seem to be embracing the brilliance of Floyd Mayweather. They seem to be embracing the reality that he is a superior boxer. And they're very, very worried. And they know their lone shot to win this fight is for Manny Pacquiao to engage Floyd Mayweather in a fisticuff. Basically, Floyd goes away from his game plan. Floyd gets away from everything, and he goes out there, and he's not Floyd Mayweather anymore. He's the guy that wants to go up against Miguel Cotto and just throw punches. He's the guy that wants to sit up there and just engage tit for tat, as opposed to being the brilliant magician and tactician that he is in the ring. Because they know if the typical Money Mayweather shows up Saturday night, they have no chance. So psychologically, like you pointed out, they're engaging in this kind of mental warfare to try to coax Floyd into getting away from his game plan, because they realize that's their only hope. The extent the fight has been made, Manny's going to make at least 125 to 150 million. Floyd's going to make anywhere from $200 to $400 million. Freddie Roach is going to get his take. Top Rank's going to get their take. Showtime HBO is going to get their take. MGM Grand is going to get their take. Everybody's going to get paid. So there's really no reason for Freddie Roach to be doing this unless you're worried that you really have no shot. So let me try to engage Floyd. That's what they're trying to do it, but money ain't falling for that, because he's smarter than that, and it's just going to be that simple. I actually feel sorry for Pacquiao and Freddie Roach right now. I really, really do, because they don't know. They know, but they don't know. They're trying to trick Floyd, because these are acts of desperation. And Freddie Roach showed up sitting next to me on my radio show yesterday. Sirius XM Mad Dog Sports Radio, Channel 85, 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time every day. He showed up yesterday and displayed his desperation sitting right next to me. I actually felt sorry for him.
Are you listening? Because you keep going,
My turn.
He wasn't listening.
Stephen A. Smith, are you prepared for how much it's going to hurt you on Monday to cough up 2 G's for a pair of shoes for Freddie Roach? That's what I'm asking you.
He has plenty of money. That's not going to.
Is it going to hurt your pride more or your wallet more? Pride or wallet? Pride. That's what I want to know.
I will agree. It would hurt my pride more than my wallet. I would admit that.
Yes.
But yeah, I haven't even entertained or contemplated that, because I don't expect to be wrong.
Okay. This is the most stunning and amusing pre-fight approach, or maybe I should call it pre-fight attack, I have ever experienced in all of my years of covering the sport of boxing. And I want to point out to everyone who might not be aware of this, the casual fans out there, Freddie Roach is no fly-by-night trainer we're talking about here.
I know.
He's no newcomer to the international stage that will be Saturday night's ring here at MGM Grand. Freddie Roach just won his 7th Trainer of the Year award. 7. Nobody's even close to 7. The award started in 1989, so it's not that old. But 7 awards since 1989. This is a big-time trainer who I believe on fight night will give Manny Pacquiao a big-time advantage over Floyd's father, who attempts to train Floyd, and I think does so very unsuccessfully. But that's just me. We'll see on Saturday night. Yes!
His father?
It's a big disadvantage. That's what Freddie Roach is doing right now.
No.
He's firing at Floyd Sr. That's what he's doing.
Forgive me for interjecting, but how is he unsuccessful when his son is 47-0? I'm lost. I don't understand that.
We'll see.
I don't understand that. 47-0.
Freddie Roach believes that Floyd fights solo, that he really doesn't have much training from his corner. And all of a sudden, when he's finally up against a real opponent for the first time in his career, that the trainer will have an impact on this fight. Big advantage to Freddie Roach. So, Freddie Roach wants you and your man Money to know that Manny Pacquiao has no fear of and very little respect for Floyd Mayweather Jr. He wants Floyd to be sitting back every day, every morning watching First Take thinking, do they know who they're messing with? Yes, they do. They know. He wanted to come by and strong-arm and take over your radio show yesterday just so that he would make sure that Stephen A. Smith would be the messenger to go back to Floyd. Maybe you did yesterday. I don't know.
You do know it's impossible to strong-arm me on my own radio show, right?
Well, he took over your show. You said you didn't want him on. All of a sudden,
no, I didn't say I didn't want him on. I said I didn't pursue an interview. They called about. Of course, I want Freddie Roach on.
Okay,
absolutely.
Okay,
I want you on. You coming on too?
I hope so. I hope so. But they wanted you to go back to Floyd and say, do you believe what these people are saying about you? Here's the point. Here's the bottom line. These people, Freddie Roach, the whole camp, and especially Manny Pacquiao, these aren't hopeless underdogs we're talking about here. Even though Manny is a 2-to-1 underdog in Vegas right now.
Is he?
They believe that Floyd has never faced anything like the quickness of hand and of foot and of mind and the punching power that he will face on Saturday night. So they want Floyd to start to rethink this, to think it over, to have second and third and fourth thoughts. They want Floyd to think that they know that he's a little afraid, that he's so afraid that he might wake up on Saturday and say, do I really want to subject myself to this? Because this is a whole new deal that he's about to get involved in.
But that's exactly my point. My point is, why go to such strenuous efforts? Manny Pacquiao and Freddie Roach haven't done this in the past. They didn't do this against Oscar De La Hoya. They didn't do this against Ricky Hatton. They didn't do this against Clottey. Exactly.
Yeah.
My point. They didn't need to, baby, but they need to now. And why would that be? Why would that be the case? Why would they need to now?
What did he predict to you?
They're going up against a ninth-round knockout.
A ninth-round knockout. Freddie Roach is on the record saying 47-0 is going down in the ninth round. Have you ever, in all your life covering boxing, heard any trainer make a prediction like that? Nobody has.
But let me say this to you.
It would be insane to make it unless you believe it.
Let me say this to you. I have no doubt that Freddie Roach is sincere. I have no doubt that Freddie Roach firmly believes this.
Does.
I also have no doubt that he's wrong. Okay? And I'm not concerned about Freddie Roach's beliefs. I'm going to roll with Money Mayweather in terms of what he said as it pertains to this. When they talked to him about what his uncle had to say, he said, my uncle don't have to fight Saturday night. Freddie Roach don't have to fight Saturday night. That's me and Manny Pacquiao. That was Money Mayweather's way of saying, everybody can talk. But at the end of the day, that brother has to get into the ring with me. And that's the difference. Now, Floyd isn't engaging in all these histrionics. He isn't sitting up there pointing out how, talking junk about Manny Pacquiao and all of this other stuff. You know why? Because he ain't trying to play mind games. He's not expending his energy on that level. He's leaving that to Manny Pacquiao. Go ahead.
Wait. I think he did talk about Manny Pacquiao to you on All Access.
Well, yes.
Remember when you finally goaded him into it?
Absolutely.
What was it, 3 hours in?
And what did he say? What did he say? This brother don't know.
He don't know.
That's what he said. He said he don't know who he's messing with. Not in those exact words, as this FCCN with John. But he said he don't know who he's messing with. So what I'm saying to you is that's not disrespecting Manny Pacquiao, whatever. It's saying, you trying to disrespect me? You coming at me like that? You playing this game? That's fine. All I'm saying to you is, I haven't heard Freddie Roach like this in the past. Haven't heard Manny Pacquiao like this. The spiritual conversion and everything else. I haven't heard all of this stuff from Manny Pacquiao until now. You done asked for this.
No, wait, time out. That's not fair about the spiritual conversion. He's talked about that before every fight.
No, I'm not talking about, no. I'm not saying he hasn't talked about it. But he doesn't look at the fighter and talk about converting them. I'm talking about that. And just to be clear, in no way, look, I'm a Christian too. There's no way am I trying to knock him for it. I'm saying the level of attention that he's brought to that as it pertains to his opponent is something he has never done
discuss this
before.
in a later topic.
This is something he's never done before. You done asked for it. Okay, and Freddie Roach is asking for it.
He's not asking for it. He's begging for it.
Okay, but Freddie Roach is taking a different approach, because I think this is fair to say Freddie Roach ain't bringing up spirituality when he's talking about Floyd. Nope. He's flat out disrespecting this man.
Yep.
Good luck.
Okay.
Good luck.
And you know what they think?
Okay.
Where did Manny Pacquiao come from?
Yeah.
What were his roots?
Yeah.
Compared to Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather Jr. was born with a silver spoon in his mouth.
Okay.
Compared to where Manny came from, where in the Philippines, remember the story? Manny's father killed the family dog for food. That's how bad it got. Manny had to leave home at 14 because they couldn't feed him anymore, and he had to fight for his life. Okay?
Last statement on this, because I heard people booing you when you said that. Nobody needs to get on you from that, because I understand where you're coming from. But you need to understand that some young black men, they would beg to differ with that comment.
Okay, but
they would beg to differ with it about Pacquiao.
To where Pacquiao
I'm just telling you, when people think about what people think about, when people think about, I know America is the greatest country in the world. I firmly believe that. But what we go through in our community,
okay, but that's a whole other thing. I'm talking economically. Economically, Floyd's father and his uncle were professional boxers who were making a pretty decent living. Am I right about that?
And Floyd would tell you he reaped no benefits from that.
Okay.
Good versus evil, guys. A good fight coming up. So, really quickly before we move on to the next topic, who's Team Pacquiao here? Let me just see a show of hands and some sounds. If not, wow, like 7 people, and then everybody else is Team Money, right? Okay. All right. Let's move on, shall we? We're going to do some NFL. The Browns have offered 2 first-round picks to the Titans for the number 2 overall selection in the draft, which will be tonight, where they would plan to take Marcus Mariota, according to a source. The Browns currently have 2 picks, 12th and 19th overall, in the very first round. Both teams have privately denied it, but there are also reports that the Eagles will trade Sam Bradford, who they just acquired, to try to move up in the draft and get Marcus Mariota. He's a wanted man, apparently, and these are all rumors, not necessarily rumors. These are reports that we are hearing. So, Stephen A., how high would you take Marcus Mariota?
I got to admit to you, man, when Jameis Winston, I say man, Skip, Lady Kerry, but here's the deal. When I think about Jameis Winston, to me, he's the number 1 overall pick.
Okay.
All right? I just think that from a pro perspective, in terms of what your upside is, I'm just a Jameis Winston fan. I think he has that it factor that can't be ignored. But watching John Gruden with Mel Kiper Jr. last night break down Mariota, I have to acknowledge to you that although I still wouldn't take him ahead of Jameis Winston, I'd probably take him number 2. Because here's why. John Gruden, who we all know knows his football, let's just call it what it is, broke something down that even the great Mel Kiper Jr. could not deny. He said, is Marcus Mariota just as big as Jameis Winston? Almost so. Almost the same height, about a 5-10 pound difference. He said, is he faster? Yes. Is he a better athlete? Yes. Did he beat him when they went head up against one another? Yes, he did. All of those things taken into consideration, he also brought up the fact, who protects the ball more? That would be Marcus Mariota. Threw 14 interceptions in his career. Over 3 years at Oregon. Jameis Winston threw more interceptions this last season than Marcus Mariota threw in his entire career. So you're talking about a guy who's athletic, who protects the football, who has better wheels because he can run faster, and on top of it all, has won and protects the football. All of those things taken into consideration, I'm like, it's hard for me to look at these other college prospects, the Bryce Pettys of the world and others, and ignore what I've seen from Marcus Mariota. It's not to say that he should be elevated over Jameis Winston, but it is to say that when you consider the fact that the dude lost about 4 or 5 games his entire career, that he's thrown less interceptions in 1 year than, in his entire career than Jameis Winston threw in 1 year, that he wins, that he's the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, in the same conference as your boy Hudley for UCLA. I'm just looking at all of this, and I'm like, I can't put him ahead of Winston, but I can sit there and look at Marcus Mariota and say, he's kind of been shortchanged in terms of leader,
or fighting to get him at number 2.
Well, I'm saying you got people fighting to get him at number 2, but I guess it's because I'm sitting across from you every day.
Mm-hmm.
You sat up there and said you wouldn't take him in the first round.
I wouldn't.
And I'm like,
not.
Oh, damn, I can't go that far. I mean, I got to at least be willing to acknowledge.
Why don't you take the next step? Why don't you say Tampa should take Mariota?
Because I like Winston that much. I'm just saying that there's no shame in saying he should be picked behind Winston. But there is shame in a Skip Bayless saying I wouldn't pick him in the first round. Mm-hmm. I can't go that far because his credentials on the collegiate level just tell us he deserves more respect than that. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Look, you know how I feel about Jameis Winston.
Yes.
I don't want to dwell on this. Jameis Winston is head and shoulder pads above Marcus Mariota on my list.
Okay.
Tampa should never think twice about taking Jameis.
I agree with that.
And never looking back. He's going to be a big-time player for a long time in this league. I know he threw a lot of interceptions last year. He had a lot hanging over his head last year. And he dug some deep holes for them because he got careless early in games trying to do too much. But when he dug them out of those holes, it was stunning to watch. He's a big-time clutch player. He's a fourth-quarter player. His team collapsed around him against Mariota in the game that you attended.
That's
right?
true.
Turnovers galore by everybody, including Jameis.
Nobody
I
showed
agree
up.
with that. Okay, you know how much I love Coach Gruden. I very much agreed with Coach Gruden 1 year ago on this show when he said he would take Johnny Manziel with the #1 overall pick, the Houston Texans. He sat right there in your chair and said that last year to me.
Yeah,
and
I was sick. He was trying to take my job. Yeah,
well, he tried, and he actually succeeded.
Did a good job.
Yeah,
he did a good job,
well,
but he did take his
but
job.
I'm glad you're back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my problem with Mariota. I always tell you, if I'm not completely sold on a quarterback being an instant starter, I'm not taking him in the first round. And I've given you a long list of quarterbacks. I said, starting with you ponder the thought, Christian Ponder. I said, don't take him in the first round. I said, Jake Locker, don't take him in the first round. I can go on and on. In this case, I wonder about the accuracy from the pocket of Marcus Mariota. I wonder about the offense that made him look so good. The fast break Oregon offense that had people on their heels the whole time he played. I wonder about his leadership command in the huddle, taking over a pro football team. I wonder about him adapting quickly to a pro-style offense because I'm not sure he can. I think he might be a project going forward. I love his athletic ability. I love his measurables. I love the fact that he is so coachable. He is a great young man, but that doesn't make you a great quarterback. I'm taking Jameis, and I'm shaky if you're going to tell me the Tennessee Titans should take Marcus Mariota and never look back. And everybody's trying to go up there. My only caveat to this is if Chip Kelly, and there are reports that Chip Kelly is trying to trade Sam Bradford, maybe to Cleveland, to get the Cleveland picks to go up. Cleveland's got 12 and 19. So could Chip keep 12-19 and his 20th pick overall and go up to number 2 to get Marcus Mariota? Maybe he could. If he does and he installs the Ducks attack that he coached when he was at Oregon, then I'll give Mariota a shot. I'd be good with that.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. We're at the Grand Bowl complex at the MGM, the site of the big fight on May 2nd. The crowd, as usual, up early and ready to have fun with us. We really, truly appreciate them for coming out. Obviously, we appreciate you at home for watching. As mentioned before the break, we're talking about from the pros to the NBA. We're talking about Mark Stein's report that Oklahoma Thunder are interested in Billy Donovan. Billy Donovan is the head coach at Florida, but it looks as if they are nearing a deal. The deal means that he would be the coach for the very first time in the NBA of the Thunder. However, Sam Presti has said he has not consulted with the 2 stars of the team. That would be Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. However, we are hearing reports that Donovan will not take the job unless he meets with those 2, and he also mentioned Serge Ibaka. So, Stephen A., I want to ask you this. Do you believe that's a good fit or a bad fit for the Thunder?
It's incumbent upon me to answer that question by first saying this. Nothing that I say or I'm about to say is against Billy Donovan. Billy Donovan is a 2-time national champion as a coach. He's been to multiple Final Fours. On the collegiate level, he has proven himself to be one of the elite coaches in the game of basketball. He is qualified for this job. He deserves the opportunity to be a head coach in the NBA, and in no way am I pointing the finger at him. But I think this is a recipe for disaster. And here is why. It's very smart, and it shows why he's a championship coach, that he's insistent upon meeting with Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook and Serge Ibaka. Sam Presti, while deserving the benefit of the doubt because of his resume as the executive for the Oklahoma City Thunder, I think is making a catastrophic mistake, in basketball parlance, that is. When you sit up there and you decide you got this man for the job and you didn't consult with Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook first. Now, I'm not one of those people that believes that just because somebody is a quality player on your franchise, that they deserve to be consulted. These ain't quality players. These are two superstars. These are two individuals that are arguably top 5 players. Russell Westbrook, arguably top 5. Kevin Durant, unquestionably top 5 in all of the world when it comes to playing the game of basketball. And by the way, you ain't in L.A., New York, Chicago. Hell, you ain't even in the ATL. You in Oklahoma City. Don't you think it would behoove you to make sure that you appease them to some degree? Because everybody ain't going to be clamoring. I know it's your town.
I would love to play in Oklahoma City.
You would. Okay, but everybody, most people ain't clamoring to go to Oklahoma City. Okay?
So is Billy Donovan clamoring?
So when you have a Kevin Durant and a Russell Westbrook and you don't pick up the phone, and that's assuming Sam Presti can tell the truth, because he ain't beyond lying. He could be lying through his teeth, telling us he ain't contacted them when he's been on the phone with them every day. You all right with Billy Donovan?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He could be doing that. Yeah. But assuming he's telling the truth and that he has not reached out and consulted with Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook about who the next coach should be, I think that's a huge mistake. Kevin Durant will be a free agent next summer. Russell Westbrook will be a free agent the summer after. Neither of them have committed long-term to Oklahoma City, which means the potential is there for you to lose both. And if you lose both of those dudes, you are no longer relevant. You have to consult with them. I think that's a potentially catastrophic mistake on a part of Sam Presti. But we'll see.
I agree with you. But for the record, both Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook have publicly made it known again and again they really like living in Oklahoma City. They've enjoyed their experience there, just for the record. Yeah, but I do agree with your big picture.
Yeah, but what are they supposed to say? I'm playing for Oklahoma City. I'm committed for the next year, 2 years, respectively. Man, I don't really feel in this town.
Yeah.
Really, they supposed to say that?
Hey,
they ain't going to say that.
So many professional athletes I've covered where they just have not liked their surroundings. They haven't enjoyed living in a certain city. You've heard that again.
Yeah, but that's when they want to get out, and they can get out. Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook can't easily get out.
And Kevin Durant can pretty quickly.
Now?
Yeah.
But I'm saying that's a year from now.
Well, maybe 6 months, maybe trade deadline.
Yeah, but you ain't going to sit there and play your hand until it's time.
Okay, back to your point. This is a horrible fit, and I am starting to think from a distance that Sam Presti, the general manager, wants to be the star of the Oklahoma City Thunder. He is picking Billy Donovan for himself, not for Kevin Durant and not for Russell Westbrook. He personally loves Billy Donovan. He wants to work and basically live with on a daily basis Billy Donovan. He has recently hired 2 members of Billy Donovan's staff to work for the Oklahoma City Thunder. So it's already a deep connection. He thinks that he could pick Billy Donovan the way he picked Russell Westbrook in the draft. And again, I have nothing but respect for the draft master that Sam Presti has become. That's different than running an organization. As you know, there's drafting, then there's running the organization. I love the way he drafts. How can I not? Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, Ibaka, James Harden, I could go on and on. He's been the best over the last 6 or 8 years drafting in the National Basketball Association. But at running the franchise at the expense of keeping Kevin Durant and keeping Russell Westbrook, he's going to go out and handpick this coach and say, I want to work with this man, and I don't really care what you two think about this. Then my other problem with this, Billy Donovan has never had any NBA experience whatsoever. He played 1 year for the Knicks. He didn't start a game. He played in 44. He averaged 8.3 minutes. And he scored 2.4 points a game for Rick Pitino's Knicks back in 87, 88. That was it. Then he went to Wall Street for a while. Then he went with Pitino to Kentucky, where he was an assistant, and quickly rose up the ranks as a head coach at Marshall, and then he's been at Florida, seems like forever. My point is, he is used to being the king of his college kingdom. You've dealt with college coaches. They're a different breed. They are in total control. College basketball is a coach's game. The NBA is a player's game. If you take a straight college coach with no NBA experience and you subject him to a pretty tricky dynamic that can be Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. Sometimes they clash a little bit. Sometimes they don't fit together. They need a strong, dominant head coach who can say it's going to be this way on an NBA level, but not on a college level. I think that Billy Donovan will have issues with both those players going forward.
Me personally, I think that Tom Thibodeau or Mark Jackson would be
totally
for totally different reasons. Tom Thibodeau because of his coaching brilliance, particularly on the defensive side of the ball.
He would be great.
And Mark Jackson just because of his ability to relate to players and how hungry and motivated he would be to go up against Golden State.
I agree.
Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, Serge Ibaka against Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Golden State for the future. I'd like Mark Jackson in that mix. But I also want to point out, Skip, you bring this up, and it's very, very important to mention, as uncomfortable as it may be for people to hear. But you brought up Wall Street. You're bringing up numbers. And I'm not saying I know this to be true when it pertains to Oklahoma City, because Sam Presti, I really don't know his background with the whole analytics thing, the way Hollinger and those boys in Memphis and others. But you're seeing a movement towards analytics when it comes to upper management. They're cheaper to hire on the executive level. They're hiring coaches who relate to that kind of thing theoretically. And as a result, it's leaning towards a little clique being developed, analytics dudes and what have you.
Sure.
And it's not really paying attention to guys who played in this league and ultimately can coach in this league. And as a result, you have a few African-American coaches that are noticing, or they're concerned rather, about the dwindling number of them that are going to have opportunities to take jobs, because this clique with analytics and all of these numbers and stuff like that are taking over coaching and executive positions, because they speak in owner's language, which is about numbers and money, and it's going to lead to a paucity of African Americans that are going to actually have head coaching jobs, even though they're coaching in a league that's more than 70% black. I just want everybody to know you got a lot of black coaches that have reached out, called me, and asked me to make sure I express that concern on their behalf.
A bit off topic, but do you think Mark Jackson will get another job?
I don't know if Mark Jackson's going to get another job. I know he deserves it. I also know that he's going to be all right if he doesn't get it, because he's doing an outstanding job for us. But the reality is that his last year in the NBA, the last 2 years he was in the NBA coaching, which was two of his first. He only coached 3 years. The last 2 years he went to the playoffs. Last year they won 51 games. And the foundation that you see Golden State in position with is something he played a significant role in establishing. So when you take that into consideration, I think it's a travesty that a job like Oklahoma City opens up and he doesn't at least get a call and get an interview and get consideration for that job.
But you know why?
And I know that. And Tom Thibodeau also.
Does Sam Presti want to work with Mark Jackson, who's a very strong-willed,
well, you know that better than me. You know the answer to that better than me. But all I'm saying to you is that whether it's Mark Jackson or a host of other individuals, you know what? Doc Rivers ain't the only black dude that can coach. I got news for you. Well, he's outstanding, but he ain't the only black dude.
By the way, we had Lionel Hollins on the show, I believe, at the last year's finals, and he had lost his job in Memphis for the very reason that you just detailed.
That's right.
And fortunately, he got another shot with the Nets, and I think he's doing a pretty good job with the Nets right now.
They struggled in the regular season, but they're giving Atlanta
starting to catch fire
a
here
run for what Darren Williams. It shows her 5 points yesterday after dropping. Don't get me started with him. I'm sorry, I digress.
Hey, but Jarrett Jack is doing some. He's one of my favorite guys.
Yes, he is.
Mine too. Bottom line to this, you tell me, would Kevin Durant, if he has a choice of going to the Knicks or his hometown Wizards or maybe even to your Lakers, would he stay in Oklahoma City for Billy Donovan? I'm going to say no.
I'm going to tell you this. Maybe not, but the way the new numbers are coming in because of the cap, because of the television money, and the cap is expected to elevate exponentially, you're going to have a situation where guys are going to be in position to get a lot of money staying with their home team. But I will tell you this. some guys don't want to go home because the stress of being home and so many people to appease is tiring. But if Kevin Durant were to go someplace and he was to join John Wall and Bradley Beal in the nation's capital, we're talking championship.
Yeah. Geico presents Strange Saving Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
I'm hoping that after the fight, we can have a conversation with Floyd, sharing my faith about God, there's nothing bad about that, sharing my faith about God, how we need to believe that we can inspire more people, especially those children are looking for us.
Manny Pacquiao very open and honest about his religion. He talks about it often. In the past, it's been said that perhaps because he is now saved and he's a Christian, he talks about it, he's lost his killer instinct. However, he's reiterated with this particular fight, he has not. Good versus evil. That's how this fight is being billed, as if Manny Pacquiao is the good and Floyd Mayweather is the evil. Skip Bayless, you have a column up right now on ESPN.com, and essentially it's titled, Saved Pacquiao Isn't Soft. Explain.
Stephen A. Smith, this is why I am so fascinated by this fight. This subplot is perplexing to me and intriguing to me and compelled me to write what I wrote for ESPN.com. As I've talked to several insiders in the Pacquiao camp, by all accounts, about 3.5 years ago, Manny Pacquiao became a 100% genuine, born-again Christian, an evangelical Christian, whose mission in life now is to save souls, including, believe it or not, Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s. Now again, a lot of people who don't get this are going to laugh, but it's not a laughing matter to Manny Pacquiao. As I've talked to you about on this show, this isn't for show on Manny's part. This isn't good luck kind of Christianity, rabbit's foot Christianity. It is genuine. And Freddie Roach is a little concerned about one area of it that you pointed out. Can you have, quote unquote, killer instinct in a prize fight of this magnitude if you're a Christian? Now, as I write in the column, I say absolutely so. In the confines of an athletic contest, a Christian can have, quote unquote, killer instinct to try to do everything within the rules to win the competition. But Freddie Roach is concerned because even though Manny says publicly, I can never hate Floyd, because, if you're a Christian, you can't hate in it. We're all children of God. But he wants to push this good versus evil theme because he wants Manny to hate everything that Floyd stands for. He fears that Manny, in the last 3 years, starting with that first Timothy Bradley fight, which I thought was the biggest robbery I've ever seen, that Manny left it up to the judges to decide the fight. Freddie was concerned that Manny pulled some punches, and that he's done so in several fights over the last 3 years, where he had an opponent in trouble and refused to put him down, put him away, to knock him out when he could have. Left it up to judges in the Timothy Bradley fight, and obviously he paid a severe price for that because it was a big loss. So Freddie is saying to Manny, you don't have to hate him as a human, but you should hate what he stands for. The long history of domestic violence that we've talked about. The flaunting of his wealth, the runaway ego. That's what he keeps goading and pushing Manny to vanquish Floyd as the face of boxing. I get that. I think it's starting to work. Manny did bring up, he volunteered 2 days ago, my killer instinct is back. But yesterday, and you were a little taken aback by this, he did it again. We just saw the footage of it. I told you he'd said this publicly before, but with Floyd sitting, 10, 12 feet down the dais from him, he said, yes, I want to beat Floyd, and then I want to sit with him and share my faith with him. And I know it jars people, but that's what this man is all about going into this fight. Your thoughts?
My thought is I hate talking about this subject because I think we've regressed as a society to the point where we can't be real enough about what goes on sometimes.
Well, go ahead.
And
you
I
can
think
be real about
I know I'm going to be.
All right.
Don't worry about that. Floyd has a history with domestic violence. It's undeniable. And the level of accountability that he's experienced right now in the court of public opinion, he brought on himself. It's just that simple. Having said all of that, let's go to the other points that I want to touch on. When we talk about Manny Pacquiao and how Manny Pacquiao is feeling, going through the spiritual conversion and he feels the way that he feels, nobody's knocking his belief in God, his Christianity. I mean, we work with somebody by the name of Chris Broussard. He's one of the best human beings I've ever seen in my life. And if I'm to do something remotely wrong, one of the first calls I receive is from Chris Broussard. And he can call me like that because that's my man. That's my brother, and I love him. You understand? But what I'm saying to you is that Manny Pacquiao is doing this in a very public way. And what somebody like Floyd, dare I say, might have the right to be disgusted by is what he may perceive to be as a level of hypocrisy. Allow me to elaborate. Manny Pacquiao, if the spiritual conversion and everything else was at the forefront, I recall Manny Pacquiao waiting until it was even Steven to some degree, and he was able to make over $100 million for this fight before he agreed to it. He didn't agree to the fight when Floyd offered 40. You understand? So Floyd is saying that, listen, this is about business. Yeah, this image I may have outside of the domestic violence, this image I may have in terms of flaunting my wealth and being in your face and offending you or whatever the case may be, this is boxing. It has proven to make money. I am worth over $500 million because I marketed myself this way. Clearly, it's working for me.
Sure.
So I could sit there and literally and legitimately say, I'm doing this so I could get paid because the sport of boxing has proven that this is how you can get paid. They don't pay nice guys. They pay the bad boys. Right?
If the good guy wins, he gets paid too. Right?
Well, a good guy, because he beat the bad guy. Good guys fighting good guys don't get paid the way Floyd gets paid. Mike Tyson was getting paid. He wasn't a good guy per se, but he was putting people to sleep, and he was a bad man. So what happened? He got paid. This is the sport of boxing. And so when you take that into consideration, when Manny Pacquiao sits up there and says the thing that he says, and Freddie Roach alludes to the things that he alludes to, dare I say, Floyd doesn't have the right to be offended if he's sitting back and going like this. Y'all act like y'all don't know what I'm doing when y'all are profiting off of what I'm doing. Because no matter how much money you made in any other fight, it's nothing compared to what you're getting paid for this one. Manny Pacquiao, before this fight, has never been paid more than $26 million for a fight. This fight, he's scheduled to get about 150. Come on now. So I'm just saying to you, when we sit up here and we talk about, I like Manny Pacquiao. I don't care about, yes, I believe he's going to lose this fight. I love the sport of boxing. This dude is a beautiful person from what I can see. I love when he comes on the show and he's laughing at me. And, all this, it's all in fun. Freddie Roach couldn't have been nicer to me yesterday. It's all in fun when they're talking to me. But when they come at Floyd, there is something that elevates, and it's not just about the fight. It's about the human being. And if they brought up the domestic violence, I would respect that because they can sit there and say, that's what I don't like. But they're going beyond that. They're talking about the flaunting of the wealth and the bad boy image that he has. But you're willing to profit off of it yourself. Okay. There's something that's hypocritical about that. If indeed we're talking on that level.
I'm not sure it's hypocritical. Do you
Why
know
not?
What a philanthropist that Manny Pacquiao has been to a fault in his past?
Yes, I do.
He's given away so much of his money in the Philippines that he's gotten in trouble. He's gotten in financial trouble. He's given away so much of his money. So the motivation for winning that much money or making that much money, he's going to give a whole lot of it back to his country.
Hold on, wait a minute.
His storm-torn country.
Skip.
Okay?
I totally agree with that.
Okay.
But regardless of your reasons, you're still going after the money. Okay. So, in other words, you choose to go after the money in your way. Floyd chooses to go after the money in his way.
Fine.
But you're both doing the same thing. Come on now. You can't.
For very different reasons. Floyd's going after the money for Floyd, for the most part. I'm sure he has some of his charitable contributions that he makes. But Floyd, no one, in all my time of watching sports, no one has ever flaunted his wealth, especially to you in that all-access.
That's right.
The way Floyd Mayweather
Floyd is not a heavyweight. Floyd is a welterweight. Floyd is not a knockout artist like Mike Tyson was or even like Tommy the Hitman Hearns was. He's a boxing genius. Those guys don't get paid paid unless they build a level of healthy hatred for them. That's what people, this fight is mega because even though there are some people that are looking at his brilliance, there's half the world that wants to see him get knocked on his behind. Terry Champion is on the record. I want to see him drop. Colin Cowherd did a boxing special with me yesterday. This is Colin Cowherd here, okay? The man is a brilliant storyteller. He's our colleague. Yeah. He's going on the air. He's like, I think Floyd's going to win, but boy, I hope I'm wrong. I want to see him get knocked out. Blah, 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 blah. This is everybody else. All I'm saying to you
but
this.
You're missing my point. Freddie is pushing good versus evil from Manny's motivation. He wants Manny not to hate Floyd, the human, but what he stands for because he needs that killer instinct to come back.
All right, I'll end it with this. Skip Bayless, I've known you for 20 years. You're an incredibly God-fearing man and a decent human being. How are you going to feel if Manny Pacquiao turns out someday in the future to be the hypocrite that those against him proclaim him to be? In other words, I had a call on my radio show yesterday from a member of the United States Marine Corps who's based in Japan. And this guy said, I'm rooting for Floyd because I don't like all the coverage I'm seeing in America. That back here where we are in Japan, which is obviously very next door and very close to the Philippines, he said, look, there is an imagery of Manny Pacquiao that isn't as pristine as is being portrayed for this fight in America. I don't know that to be true.
Okay, all I'm saying, I hate you bring up a radio caller on this show and give it some credibility. That's unfair to Manny Pacquiao.
Well, you know what? Let me say this to you. You can say it's unfair all you want to. I prefaced it by saying it's a member of the United States Marines who is sitting there, and he's an American citizen, an American soldier.
Okay.
Well, listen, I'm not there. What do I know about the Philippines, Skip? Why can't I bring up the D's in Japan? I'm not there. I'm here. All I'm saying to you is this. I don't believe Manny Pacquiao to be a bad person by any stretch of the imagination. But, my Lord, we have done everything but put a halo over his head. Come on now.
No, I mean,
come on. Listen.
Have you listened to his testimony? He talks at great length, openly, with his wife sitting beside him, how 3.5 years ago he hit bottom. Drinking, carousing, cheating on his wife, gambling.
You know this better than me.
Okay, is that what the guy's talking about 3.5 years ago? Because he's got a point there.
Let me ask you this. 3.5 years ago is not a very long time ago. That's number one. Number two, and more importantly, Skip Bayless, we are sports reporters. There have been many occasions we have seen throughout history where people have bloviated and talked ad nauseum as if they were standing on the altar and come to find out it was something entirely different. I'm just simply saying that's why I zero in on a fight. I don't believe in anybody as individuals in today's professional sports world. I'm talking about the fight, man, because I can't trust anything else. I can't. We just finished talking yesterday about how Shane Ray disappointed us.
Yeah.
Now, he didn't harm nobody. He didn't harm anybody. But, my goodness, we get lied to all the time.
I told you, I've done a lot of homework on this, and I think this guy's legit. Now, are we all flawed? Could he stumble? Sure,
even if he did, I wouldn't mind.
Okay, fine. But here's what amused me. After Manny said what he said, and we saw it a little while ago at the microphone, then it was Floyd's turn. And Floyd got up, and what was the first thing he said? I want to thank God for this opportunity. So Floyd is saying, hey, what did he tell you? Am I not a child of God too? Didn't he say that to you?
He did say that to me.
So Floyd is also saying, wait a second, don't condemn me. Maybe I have some God in my heart here too. So he's thanking God too to say, hey, God, remember me? I'm here too.
Maybe the most dangerous, and I know we got to end this, maybe the most dangerous element of this all is for us as human beings trying to define how a child of God should act.
Stephen A., you bring up
Maybe we need to leave that up to God.
Okay,
I leave it up to the Bible.
But wait, so Stephen A. brings up a very good point. You talk about hypocrisy. I think that everyone who's covering this fight has to struggle with that, this network included. It's a tough thing to do. The two are one. I know you say let's just focus on the fight, but that's why we're struggling.
No, what I'm saying to you is this. People can say, let's just be real. The hypocrisy doesn't come from what we're doing in terms of our coverage. Don't listen to the blogosphere and other newspaper reports and all this other stuff. I'm not saying you are. I'm saying forget all of that. Yeah. All I'm saying is this. We are a network. We have a job. We have a responsibility. We cover the whole gamut.
Right.
People have a problem with it. They can kick rocks. I don't give a damn what they think.
What does the hypocrisy come from for you?
I'm saying for me, I'm thinking along the lines of we know historically There are professional athletes that have stood in front of our face and smiled and gave us one story.
Many times.
And something else has been totally different. We can't go by that. I'm going to the fight because it's the safe place to be.
We got Roy Jones Jr. here. So you guys can give it up for the former world champion, Roy Jones Jr. He's It's fine.
In the house.
So we had you on the show a couple of weeks ago in Bristol, Connecticut, and you didn't make a pick, obviously, because you're calling the fight for HBO. So talk to us about, and we're going to analyze it with you. Give us the keys to the fight. What can we expect on Saturday?
Well, to me, the biggest keys are, for Mayweather, is the size factor. And people don't understand, by him already being the bigger fighter, he's probably going to be the more powerful fighter. People don't want to accept that, but that's just what the truth is. You understand? He's going to be the more powerful guy.
Don't say
now,
people.
Pacquiao does not accept that.
Pacquiao, on the other hand, is the guy who has the intangibles. He's a different type of a guy. His movement is different. He's southpaw. So that's his only chance to come in and be a factor in the fight. But right now, skill for skill, you got to go with Floyd. Intangible-wise, you can see Pacquiao having a chance.
All right. Stephen A.
All right, well, such brilliance.
Was it?
Such brilliance. I have no problem with anything that he said, but I will ask this question. Floyd is clearly the bigger fighter. He seems really, really strong. That don't have anything to do with your jaw, though. Is there anything that you've seen from Floyd that gives you an indication that he could be slower in this fight?
No, I don't think he'll be slower. You know, I moved up to heavyweight. I took all that speed right up there with me. You understand me? Was as powerful as ever, but was fast as ever. So I don't see Floyd having a little bit of a size advantage, or even picking up a few more pounds, maybe size-wise, slowing down at all.
Okay.
Roy, I will give you, when they faced off yesterday, when they met face-to-face once again, I was taken aback. Floyd is much bigger than Pacquiao is. Now, I don't know if Floyd's wearing elevator shoes or whatever, but you know, he looks like he's almost 3 inches taller. He's listed as 2 inches taller with 5 inches more reach.
Yes,
is that what it is?
That is accurate.
But he looks about 3 inches taller.
Right.
Now, the problem I have with when you say he's stronger, I look at his record, and Stephen A. and I have gone back and forth about this. I thought it was a sucker punch knockout of Victor Ortiz when it was 3 years ago.
It was, but he deserved it. He brought it on himself.
All right, but he caught him flat-footed. But Victor was talking to the ref, and he gets rocked, and he's gone.
After he had headbutted him on
all right,
purpose.
that's fine. I get that.
All right.
But that registered as one KO, and then I have to look all the way back for the next KO. 16 years to 1999, Justin Juco, some replacement who got thrown in a couple of weeks before the fight, is the last knockout by Floyd Mayweather Jr.
No, let him finish.
Right. Yeah, but I'm talking about knocking the man out, not TKO, but
Did you see how
knockout.
Did you see how hard Ricky Hatton hit the canvas?
Yeah.
Did
you see what Pacquiao did to Ricky Hatton?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, he just destroyed him.
But did you see how hard Ricky Hatton hit the canvas when Floyd hit him?
Okay, is Floyd a knockout artist? No, he's not.
No, he's not. But let me tell you about Floyd. Floyd is a guy who's very economical. He brings what he needs to the dance. If it's not required a tuxedo, he ain't bringing no tuxedo.
Okay. All right.
You understand me? So you got to know that. But don't think, but that don't mean he don't have it. That's the point. That's the point you got to realize. That does not mean that he doesn't have a tuxedo just because he doesn't show up anymore.
Let me say this to you too, and tell me whether you agree with this or not, because I want to throw this to Skip. Manny Pacquiao's record is what? I believe it's 57-5-2.
Yep.
How many knockouts does he have? He has 38. Skip Bayless, that's 19 times he hasn't knocked somebody out. Floyd is 47-0. He has 26 knockouts. That's 21 times he hasn't knocked somebody out. So what I'm saying to you is that you talk about Manny as being this knockout artist. Manny's last knockout was a Patton 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So I'm looking at you and I'm saying, well, wait a minute. The knockout percentages are almost the same. Almost the same.
I don't want to go back into the same topic we just did, but I told you that Freddie Roach has been concerned that Manny, since his conversion, has had numerous fighters in trouble and has not put them down the way he should have.
And other people would say that Manny Pacquiao is considerably smaller than he used to be.
And he is smaller than he used to be. I agree. He looks pretty fit to me. He looks strong to me. And all the common opponents, all of them talk about how the impact they felt from Manny's punches was much stronger than what they felt from Floyd. All of them, starting with Cotto. He says, I've never been hit the way I was hit by Manny Pacquiao.
Back in the day.
Before the conversion, before Victor Conte got let go, when he was a much bigger looking apparent guy too. He's not even as apparently big as he was then now. So people have to wonder. You understand me?
Okay.
Not only that,
fair.
like I said, with Pacquiao, he was a guy who was always a smaller guy coming up. You know, a small guy, most time with small guy syndrome, they got to fight harder to make people respect him. Floyd was never a small guy fighting. He was always good for the weight class that he was in.
Well,
so he didn't have to have that
right
mentality.
Let's stay right there. Question. Does the fact that Floyd Mayweather, he's been in the ring against Miguel Cotto, he's been in the ring against Canelo Alvarez, he's been in the ring against Oscar De La Hoya, usually Floyd is the smaller guy, or at least recently. My question to you is the fact that he's the bigger guy now, literally taller as well as bigger, presumably stronger, could that work against Floyd?
No, it won't work against Floyd because Floyd is not the one who has to be worried about avoiding Pacquiao. Pacquiao's strong, but like you said, Pacquiao knocked somebody out in 5 years either.
What about those legs that Pacquiao has on him? Power from your legs.
He has good power from his legs, but you don't punch with your legs.
You don't?
Well, when you swing it,
you use them, but you don't punch with them.
Doesn't it give more momentum to your punch?
They give you a little bit more momentum, but just because they're big doesn't mean a thing. That does not convert into punching power. There are guys with big legs that can't punch at all.
For him, it has, though.
Well, for him, it has when he was bigger. 5 years ago.
Gotcha.
Okay, so Roy Jones, I know you're not supposed to make a pick, but you're making a strong case for Floyd Mayweather Jr.
Well, my case is that he's a bigger guy. We got to look at the realism of the situation. He's a bigger guy who's tall, who really could take a jab and basically nullify Pacquiao, like he did with Marquez. And this is no joke about it. This is what the truth is. People like me and George Foreman, we love to fight guys shorter than us because the short guy don't really have a chance usually because we neutralize him with a jab.
So is there a better chance of Floyd knocking out Manny than Manny knocking out Floyd?
Yes, it is. That's all I'm trying to say.
All right.
Floyd has the better chances.
All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. First take on the road for the Floyd Mayweather-Manny Pacquiao fight. We will be here until tomorrow. It's been a great opportunity to meet fans and obviously to be here in Vegas and experience what some say is the greatest sporting event in recent memory. We're happy to have you here. Kerry champion Stephen A. Smith, Skip Bayless. As you saw in our show open, we have a new DJ Steve Porter video. It's where the two men debate about this fight. We want you to check that out on our Facebook page, and you can also go to Twitter and retweet that for us, the Twitter, as I like to say. And I just want to give one quick promo, gentlemen. Tomorrow we have a huge show. You do not want to miss who will be here. Jamie Foxx is coming to the show tomorrow. That's your boy, right? You guys have a lot of good times together. He makes fun of you every so often.
Well, Jamie Foxx makes fun of everybody, but not like the way he made fun of LL.
Oh, don't!
Yeah,
okay.
The two don't compare, and I love LL too.
I love LL too.
You don't mess with a comedian.
Yeah, because they can
I don't
get
mess
you.
with Jamie. Only comedian I mess with is Kevin Hart.
He loves you too, though.
He tries to steal my job.
Incident once upon a time?
Huh?
Jamie and LL when they were doing Any Given Sunday?
Oh, yeah.
That's where it all started.
Oh, so that's where, okay. Yeah. Well, he's not on the show.
You can't lick your lips as much as LL does.
Yes, you can.
On Jamie Foxx.
Look,
they try to get on Jamie Foxx.
Ladies, can LL do that? It's okay. It's only two ladies here. Okay, never mind. 50 Cent will be on the show as well. So again, Jamie Foxx, 50 Cent, Skip Bayless, Stephen A. Smith, Kerry Champion, a big show tomorrow. Please join us. We'll be here. Hopefully you guys can too as well. Let's move on to the NBA, shall we? Game 6 in San Antonio. Tonight, the Spurs have the opportunity to close it out, but will they? The Clippers seem to be playing extremely aggressive. They do not want to lose this fight. Skip talks about his Spurs, and you seem to say that you don't think that they will be able to close it out. So I'm not going to talk to you because you're a bit emotional about your Spurs.
I'm not objective.
Not at all. So it's 3-2. Can the Spurs close it out, Stephen A?
Yes, they can. Yes, they can, and I believe they will. Don't clap. I'm not happy about it. We all know I'd rather be in L.A. than the Riverwalk. I'm not going to apologize. But the fact of the matter is the Clippers don't have a reliable bench. One day Austin Rivers shows up, the next day he doesn't. One day Jamal Crawford shows up, the next day he doesn't. Never do any of them show up, with the exception of Game 4 when both Austin Rivers and Jamal Crawford showed up, along with Big Baby to some degree contributed 19 minutes off the bench that particular day. You have to have not just discipline, not just smarts. You have to have depth when you're going to take on the San Antonio Spurs. And the Clippers are devoid of any. And I think that Chris Paul has been asked to do entirely too much, and it's just too much for him to overcome. Blake Griffin, 1 of 9 in the fourth quarter, missing both free throws. I mean, we know he's a star, but my God, you've got to know how to close. And that's not the case. DeAndre Jordan is an absolute catastrophe on the free throw line. And you still tied the series up at 2-2, winning Sunday. And then you turn around less than 48 hours later with a chance to put your collective hand around their throat and to win in L.A., and you blow that opportunity because of mental mistakes, the tip in by DeAndre Jordan, the lack of efficiency on the part of Blake Griffin, the absence of a bench. Austin Rivers just had 2 points. That gave him 4 points that game. Jamal Crawford, 0 of 6 from three-point range, 1 of 7 overall shooting. They're going to have to put forth the Herculean effort to stave off San Antonio ending this series because you already beat them once on their home court. I don't know if the reigning defending world champions are going to let you do it twice. Do I believe the Clippers can do it? Sure, they can do it because they've got a lot of offensive firepower. They're pretty difficult to stop. All of that is true. But if I had to bet my money, I'm going to bet my money on a 39-year-old guy that's recognized as the greatest power forward in history, a coach who is considered the very best in this game and one of the best ever, and a bunch of supplementary parts who manage to continuously have luck on their side when it counts because they play within themselves, because they're disciplined, because they're not concerned with anything but the bottom line. All of those ingredients matter in closeout games. The San Antonio Spurs know how to win. The Clippers are still trying to find out how to learn how to win. Too much to overcome. They should have never been able to go against each other in the first round because of the bogus seedings on the part of the NBA. But it is what it is. The Spurs close the deal tonight.
You picked it in 6, and I sure hope with all my heart and soul you are for once right about Spurs in 6.
I'm usually wrong about the Spurs, though. He's right about that. I'm usually wrong about the Spurs.
Go on.
I'm an objective Spurs fan. I said Spurs in 7, but now I'm backed into the corner of could they go back to Staples and win for a third time in one series at Staples on the road? Are you kidding me?
No way.
I don't love what I have seen so far from my Spurs. And speaking of hands around throat and closing deals, what happened last Sunday in Game 4 when I thought my Spurs were ready to go like this to the Clippers? What happened? Chris Paul went for 34. Austin Rivers came off the bench and made 7 out of 8 shots. And Blake Griffin went for 20 points and 19 rebounds, and my Spurs got blown off their home floor. So how can I trust completely a team whose igniter, whose point guard, Tony Parker, is dragging around a bad Achilles tendon? He has no lift on his jump shot. He is 0 for 8 in this series from the three-point line. Danny Green, my designated shooter, who has the finals record for NBA for three-point shooting, is 8 for 28 from the three-point line in this series. That's 29%. Boris Diaw from the three-point line is 1 for 11 in this series. Tiago Splitter should not even be on the floor because he's got a bad calf. He shouldn't be playing right now, and he drags it around for 15 minutes a game, and it actually hurts more than he helps. So how can I trust this? My 39-year-old center, who is all-time, big-time great, just played 39 minutes 2 nights ago. Is he going to come back and play 40 tonight? I don't know. That's a lot to ask of a 39-year-old.
All salient points, all right on the money, all factually correct 1,000%, and they're still up 3-2.
Yep. But were they not lucky to win a couple of games at Staples?
Well, I don't want to say lucky. I don't want to say lucky. You know why? Because guess what happens? Luck is when, I mean, they were in the game. They were in position to win. They should, game 1, they got blown out of the Staples Center. I mean, they got ramrodded.
In Game 4, they got blown off their home floor.
And then they came back and won Game 2. And they came back and won Game 2. Now, the Spurs do seem allergic to prosperity from time to time. There's no doubt about that. But the Clippers don't seem to know what prosperity is because they can't get to that point.
I got one thing on my side. As much as I love Doc Rivers, I did not love what he did after that game the other night when he right away voluntarily went after the referees. When you reach for that at this point after 5 games of a series, it's a little desperate to me. And he got $25,000 fine for it, as he should have. But it comes across as sour grape excuses that that I don't think his team needs to hear at this point.
Well, maybe, listen, desperate time calls for desperate measures. And the fact of the matter is that you got a guy like DeAndre Jordan that looked like he should have grabbed some Prozac or something because he looked so depressed after the game. It's just the truth. Yeah. That's how pitiful he looked. DeAndre Jordan is a guy that I'm very fond of. I think he's a big-time talent. I think he's a Skywalker. I really like him. But there is simply no excuse for the ineptitude at the free throw line that he has exhibited. He is an Achilles heel for this team. Spencer Hawes, remember, preseason pick, I picked the Clippers to go to the finals because the acquisition of Spencer Hawes was supposed to be a big man that they could put in the fourth quarter when DeAndre Jordan wasn't there, who had a perimeter shot, who could pull big boys away from the basket, thereby giving Chris Paul room to operate. Spencer Hawes has been an unmitigated disaster, and he wants to blame it on the fact that he's coming off the bench instead of starting. You're a professional. Figure it out. You're getting paid. You ain't playing for free.
I will bet you he will play some tonight.
Well, he needs to play some, but the point is that he acts like the only way he can be effective is if he started. When Blake Griffin was out those 15 games, he raved about how well he played thereafter because he was in the starter lineup. Well, damn it, you knew with DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin you weren't going to be a starter when you signed as a free agent to go to the Clippers. So it's ridiculous for him to make that excuse now.
Last quick point.
The other night in the fourth quarter, the Spurs resorted to Tim Duncan covering Blake Griffin. Yeah. And you know what? It worked. Can he do it again?
ESPN Radio, bringing you directly to the biggest events in sports.
Center field, well hit, Hunter back, out of here!
From opening day of baseball,
throw to the plate, safe at the plate,
right through the World Series.
For the third time in 5 seasons, the San Francisco Giants are the champions of the baseball world.
Whether it's LeBron, Chris Paul, or Kevin Durant, when the NBA tips off, ESPN Radio is right there when a champion is crowned.
We have a new world champion. The San Antonio Spurs are the world champions.
And when the magic of bowl season arrives, ESPN Radio is your home for the new college football playoff.
The college football playoff first national champion, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
The biggest events in sports can be found right here on ESPN Radio.
Welcome back to First Take. Oh my God, look at the crowd, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's growing, it's swelling as the morning continues. Thank you for joining us and still being here with us. Our guest is Dan Rafael. He's been here for more than a decade. Your ESPN boxing writer, aficionado. We gave actually Teddy Atlas the Oracle title yesterday, so I can't give that. Are you sure?
You can have
it. All right. So listen, you've been covering Manny and Floyd for years.
A long time.
You've been talking about this. We always look to your articles to see what you have to say. You always have really good insight. But let's talk about the fight week here in Vegas. What's your perspective on what you're seeing? How's it all laying out to you?
Fight weeks are great in Vegas, but most of the time they don't really get rolling until Wednesday at earliest, maybe Thursday. By Friday, everybody rolls in for the weigh-in. You've been, and then it gets crazy. For this fight, it goes slowly, and it becomes like a bonfire by Friday, Saturday. This week it was like a bonfire on Tuesday when I got here. It was already incredible intensity, just walking around the casino, the signage, all the fans that were here, just a lot of excitement in the air. And you could just tell, just stepping into the hotel, that this was going to be a big, big week.
Well, people are saying that it's the greatest sporting event in recent memory. Is that too much hype, or is it probably the most hyped sporting event?
I mean, I don't cover Super Bowls, and I don't go to the Olympics or to the Final Four. I just watch them on TV like everybody else. But I go to all the big fights. And this is, to me, the biggest fight that I've covered. I've been at ESPN 10 years. I've been on the boxing beat for a little over 15 years. I've covered lots of Mayweather and Pacquiao fights. I covered a lot of Oscar De La Hoya fights, Mike Tyson, Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, Bernard Hopkins. I mean, all the guys over those period of time. This is the biggest fight that I'm covering.
Wow. Okay, so then you made your pick, Mayweather. Make your case, kind sir.
Listen, first of all, I haven't picked against Floyd since 2001 when he fought Diego Corrales. I thought Diego was going to beat Floyd. He was on an unbelievable knockout streak and just looking incredible. I learned my lesson that night. Floyd Mayweather dropped him 5 times right here at the MGM Grand, and haven't picked against Floyd since. And there's a reason, and it's nothing against Pacquiao. I think Pacquiao is an absolutely tremendous, all-time great fighter, a historical figure in the sport, as is Floyd. But I just like Floyd's ring intelligence. I think he does a lot of things at least a little better than Pacquiao in most categories, perhaps except punching power. But I do think that Floyd is a bit of an underrated puncher. He is a finisher when he gets you hurt, but he's so within himself and doesn't need to go for that and leave himself open. He just knows every inch of that ring. And I think the combination of his speed and his defense and his ring intelligence and his desire and his confidence that he's never been beaten and he can't be beaten is going to be enough to have his hand raised. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying he runs through Manny Pacquiao in an easy manner or knocks him out in a first or second round or something like that. I just think he's going to do enough to win 7 rounds and get the knock on at least 2 judges' scorecards.
What is your take on an issue that we've talked a lot about here on the show? Freddie Roach's relentless attack publicly on Floyd Mayweather Jr. What do you read into it?
That's gamesmanship, Skip. You've covered lots of sporting events. Freddie is the guy that speaks on behalf of Pacquiao. I mean, from my point of view as a reporter, Manny is a wonderful guy, but thank God we have Freddie Roach because he fills our notebooks like Pacquiao doesn't. And so Freddie understands promotion of an event, but Freddie also has confidence in his fighters. He's been with Manny since day one, since he came to the United States in 2001. And he knows how to sell the fight also. They've Floyd sell his fight on their side, and since Pacquiao is not going to talk trash ever, I've never heard him say a bad word one time in my entire career covering him. And I was at his first fight in America at the MGM in 01. He needs somebody to do it on his behalf, so he understands it. And it's gamesmanship.
He has said that Floyd's just sort of another fighter to him. That's a little trash talk, isn't it?
That is trash talk. I mean, but that's boxing. If there was no trash talk, why would you want to watch 2 guys fight if you don't have a reason to check them out?
Just because you've been waiting for 5 or 6 years to watch these 2 fight?
They've done enough trash talking through those 6 years about all the stuff, not so much Manny, but between Freddie and, of course, Mayweather with very harsh things he has said about Pacquiao through the years, where he's attacked him because of his nationality. He's attacked, he made anti-gay statements against him, even though Pacquiao, not gay, but shouldn't be saying those kinds of things anyway.
Well, let me switch gears for a second. First of all, refresh my memory. I do believe that when Floyd Mayweather knocked out Diego Corrales, which was a mega fight at that particular moment in time because Diego Corrales got arrested, slowly passed away. At that time, he was big time. And when Floyd dropped him 5 times, I do believe he was crying that night in the ring when he was getting his butt whipped, right? Because he was so frustrated.
After that fight ended, his stepfather threw in the towel.
Yes.
And so Diego was extremely upset about that and was sort of emotional, not about losing, I don't think, but so mad at his stepfather for doing that it became sort of a scene in the ring.
Yeah, he looked like he was crying after one of those knockdowns, but that's beside the point. I guess for me, what I ask you now is that in leading up to this fight in the weeks, over the last few weeks, we haven't seen Floyd resemble his typical self in terms of how talkative he usually is. What do you make of that?
I think that when comes fight week, a lot of times Floyd, during the course of the fight week, a lot of times he shuts things down as far as what he says. So I don't have noticed any difference. To me, it's been the same. I've yet to see Floyd occasionally, but he comes to a press conference. He's usually low-key. He knows it's almost fight time. The promotion is basically done. He knows he's getting that big fat check at the end of the night, and he's done his job. And he spends his press conference time or his time sitting with the press in the private sessions talking about his family, talking about his children, talking about how he just wants everybody to enjoy the fight.
From what you know of Floyd, how badly does he want to win this particular fight compared to other fights?
No, this is the one. I mean, he has said, he tries to downplay. He says, at one point he said it's another fight, but there have been other times where he says, I've never wanted to win another fight more than this one. Right. And that's the truth. I mean, you can say that maybe he's doing things for show at other times, and I think both fighters, both trainers, both promoters, if they say anything other than this is the biggest fight of our life and we want to win this more than any other fight we've ever been associated with in the history of our careers with these 2 fighters, they're lying. This is the big one. This is the legacy fight, period. No matter what they think, it's what the public thinks, it's what guys like us think. This is the legacy fight, period.
Your view of Pacquiao's demeanor so far at the 2 media sessions we've had here in Las Vegas?
Manny is Manny. I mean, he's always loose, jovial almost. He came into our media session on Tuesday morning. He had done his fan rally and had a good time. A lot of Filipino fans were there. And he came in and he was sort of joking around with a lot of the media. He came in holding a camera. And he sat down in his seat and he pointed out like he was taking pictures of us when usually it's obviously the other way around. So he was loose. He was joking around. He had a great crack. One of the reporters asked him, they're selling a T-shirt among the gazillions of T-shirts they're just selling at the merchandise store. And it's a picture of Floyd Mayweather superimposed over a Filipino flag. And some people took that as being disrespectful to the Filipino people and to their country and to their flag. And so Manny was asked what he thought about that. And he laughed and he said, oh, well, that's fine. That's good. He wants to join our team, TMT. The Manny team.
Welcome back to First Take. It is time for Carrie Sport. It's the opportunity where people can ask Skip and Stephen A. the questions they've been dying to ask them. If you're sitting at home, you're on your couch, you're debating with Skip or Stephen A., this is your opportunity to be a part of it if you come to our live show. Our first guest here is Keith Lewis from Chicago. No surprise. You have a question for Stephen A.
I do. As a Bulls fan, I have to ask, with the new Kevin Love injury, do you still see them coming out of the East? Like, is that really realistic?
See who? Point? Cleveland?
Cleveland.
Yes, it is realistic, particularly against your Bulls, who seem to be inconsistent and are having trouble with the Milwaukee Bucks.
Even with the J.R. Smith suspension?
You only get one question. All right? But I'll give you two. JR's only gone for 2 games, not the entire series. So he'll be back before this series is up. Bulls can make it tough. There's no question about that. But they need to show me some consistency. I don't like what I've seen from the Bulls, and to be quite honest with you, I expected them to be better.
You know, to me, Kevin Love is being a little overrated of late because all of a sudden it's like death and destruction because there's no Kevin Love. You realize, and we talked about it a lot, since the All-Star break, I think Kevin Love didn't play in 8 fourth quarters, and you were having an issue with why doesn't he play? I can't put him on any pedestal if he doesn't even play in the fourth quarter, and all of a sudden the Cavs have no chance without him? Really?
Well, it's not that. It's that come playoff time, the game slows down, and big boys play in the low post. And what happens is Kevin Love pulls them away from the basket because of his ability to shoot three-point shots. So if you have him out there, he's a significant threat. They have to come out and guard him. And as a result, it creates space in the low post for the Kyrie Irvings and others to operate. So not having to worry about him, that puts even more pressure on J.R. Smith to step forward and to hit perimeter shots, along with LeBron himself. And that's what's going to make it interesting because they're going to have to hit. They have to do something.
Okay, when the Cavs play the Bulls, if in fact it is the Bulls, who will be the best 2 players on the court? LeBron James and Kyrie Irving. Am I right about that?
You know what? Yes, most games. But I'd give a couple of those games. I'd put Jimmy Butler at number 2.
Well, I don't know.
You know why? Because Jimmy Butler plays on both ends. Jimmy Butler may not drop 50 like Kyrie, but he could drop 25 to 30 and help neutralize somebody on the defensive end of the floor.
I'll take Kyrie.
We're staying with the Chicago thing. We have a lovely lady. You're beautiful. Thank you for joining Carrie's Court. She's from Chicago. Tell everyone your name, and you have a question for Stephen A.
Nicole Brady. I wanted to know how much did Rondo hurt his chances in the free agency?
Rondo cost himself minimally $30 million.
Wow.
Perhaps more. And I hope it's a lesson to a lot of folks out there. He's known as being a bit temperamental. At one time, he was an elite point guard. He also happens to be somebody who is a champion, who showed up in big moments in big games. Understand the disastrous effect his behavior had this year. He came across as quitting on his team. And when you quit on your team, that's nuclear. You can't have that. But then on top of it all, he reminded everybody he can't shoot. Not just from the perimeter, but from the free throw line. So you can't shoot from free throws. You can't shoot from the perimeter. Plus, you came across as being a bad teammate. They lost and wouldn't even give you a share of their playoff money. How are you now in a position to go into free agency and demand X number of dollars? You're lucky if they give you an opportunity to ask.
I thought Rondo flat out quit on the Dallas Mavericks in Game 2 of this past series. And because of that, I had absolutely no issue. In fact, I applauded that the Mavericks decided he deserves no playoff share of the money.
Good.
All right, Stephen A., you've said the Lakers shouldn't want him. Maybe we can get him at a discount. But let's move on here. Derek from Virginia, you have a question. And are you a Cowboys? I'm not for sure. You're a Cowboys fan. Okay, I think so. Your question for Skip Bayless.
Skip, is Stephen A. going to lose more bets against the Cowboys this season? Cowboys Nation never forgets.
Yes, they never forget. I love your T-shirt and your picture.
Never.
You know what?
Oh, okay, if this is a love fest, go sit with him.
He will lose no more bets because he learned his lesson the hard way last year. He had to wear a Tony Romo jersey.
See, I want everybody in America to know I don't hate the Cowboys because of the Cowboys. I hate the Cowboys because of the fans. Because it's people like him. He is standing next to Kerry Champion with a smile on his face, holding up a poster. That's your definition of a Super Bowl right there, that I lost a bet. That's what you've regressed to. You haven't won a championship in 17 years. You won 2 playoff games in that pit. 2 playoff games in 17 years. But y'all walk around this country like y'all accomplished something.
Yeah, should have won.
Y'all are pathetic.
Should have won.
The Cowboys are fans.
Should have won.
It was a catch.
Because that was a catch.
That's
you know
right.
it and I know it.
They still would have lost. Aaron Rodgers would have still had the ball with enough time.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. First take on the road, MGM Grand Pool Complex. Our show is just about over, but we want to remind you that tomorrow, Friday, our very last show, we have a couple of special guests. You don't want to miss it. 50 Cent will be here, as well as actor, comedian, singer. The very talented Jamie Foxx will also join us tomorrow, so you don't want to miss it. Let's get to the last topic, shall we? At a press conference between Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather, Mike Tyson was there, and he was sitting in the back where reporters were, and they asked him if he wanted to move to the front, and he said, I try to stay as far away from dirt as possible. He was then asked about Mayweather being better than Muhammad Ali. His words, Mayweather's words, he writes, the guy is going around saying he is better than Ali. I don't want to hear that expletive. When asked about Floyd, he said this. I was always told by my mother that if you can't say anything nice about someone, don't say nothing. All right, Stephen A. Mike Tyson clearly is not a fan of one Floyd Mayweather, but let's talk about these comments specifically. Inbounds or out of bounds?
Well, they're not out of bounds because it's Mike Tyson. They're not out of bounds because he's the former heavyweight champion of the world and he's earned the right to feel any way he wants about a fellow pugilist. It's not my place to say that about him. And not only that, in defense of Mike Tyson in this regard, there are plenty of people who have befriended Floyd over the years that found themselves having a problem with Floyd later on. 50 Cent was one of them. He'll be on the show tomorrow, even though I don't know what the situation is. I think they've made up, but at one time it wasn't that way. So from what I'm told, Mike Tyson and Floyd Mayweather have had their outs. Or what I don't know. All I can tell you is this. Mike Tyson, did it seem disrespectful? Sure. Calling Floyd dirt? Obviously disrespectful, because Floyd could turn around and easily say something like that about Mike Tyson, okay? But the flip side to it is that you find a lot of boxers that would be absolutely appalled for anybody saying that they were better than Muhammad Ali, because a lot of fighters, even in this day and age, believe they are where they are today because of the sacrifices Muhammad Ali was willing to make. That could be where this is emanating from. I don't know. I haven't spoken to Tyson about it, but I didn't find it as out of bounds as everybody might perceive it to be.
I'm with you about the Ali remark. When I believe Floyd said it to you in the All Access.
Yes, he did.
I said it wasn't just disrespectful to Muhammad Ali, it was blasphemous, because this man is on the highest pedestal to me in the history of sports. He was the greatest in every way, shape, and form to me. And so when you go to that level of disrespect, it goes into blasphemy, and I get where Tyson would be offended by that. The rest of it, I don't know what their personal beef is, because obviously when Mike Tyson was heavyweight champ, he wasn't exactly a role model himself. Exactly. So I don't know where the dirt came from.
The other part to it, though, is this. Floyd specifically said on the All Access, he didn't mean any disrespect. He just believed, he refuses to be brainwashed into believing Sugar Ray Robinson or anybody is better than him. So that's how he feels. He doesn't believe he's being disrespectful because he's not saying Ali wasn't great. He's just saying, I'm the greatest.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be here tomorrow. Again, our guest will be 50 Cent, as well as Jamie Foxx. Please join us. First Take is on the road in Vegas. We want to thank you guys so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I think we have some veterans in the audience. Thank you guys so much for coming. We'll see you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific, right here on ESPN2. Have a great day, everyone.